Recording now. Excellent. Well, a warm welcome, and today's chat is very, very pertinent, warmly anticipated. I think a lot of the people here have been working with Michael on the various STA solutions. And this really underpins a lot of what we've been looking at. Michael's been integral and probably part of the team all the way through. A sort of huge journey of discovery. Definitely the catchphrase, "Oh, Odoo does that," is Michael's. I think it now makes tea, it does AI, it does everything. So yeah, the purpose really of today is to bring it to life, allow you guys to ask questions, have a look at what it can do. We have a whole host of projects where charities are coming to us asking for help, but equally the projects that work well is when we have our own idea and identify a need and reach out to the community to say, look, this is something we could offer as well. So yeah, warm welcome. Over to you, Michael, our guru of Odoo.
Maybe we should just make t-shirts that say, "Oh, Odoo can do that," and crash stuff, but let's focus on the doing stuff. So let me just share my screen. So as you can now see, very well. I'm here just the website part of it. Wait, this would be, if you will, the outward-facing part of Odoo for all your end users. And I've installed, I think, every module I can install at this point to just get a feel of everything it can do. I mean, right off the bat first, before we go on to anything else, on the website design element of Odoo, it is very, what you see is what you get. It's extremely simple and quite intuitive. So if we want to add a countdown timer, we just drag and drop it. And if we want to edit it, we just click on it and update the dates that it's going to. Happy, save. We have a timer now. I mean, as simple as that to just make any edits, any changes onto the platform itself. And again, right out of the box, a donation button, which seems to be very relative to all the organizations we're working with. Simple assets will link with Stripe, PayPal, and a whole myriad of payment processors that we have not dealt with, but like Alipay, which is big in some parts of the world. So it's a global platform. And I know I haven't mentioned that, but as we know, it's open source, and we're running the community edition, where there's also an enterprise edition and there's an online version. But this is hosted by us here at the STA on AWS servers, which our platform team very dutifully takes care of and makes sure it all runs fine. Okay, so said basic website building, everything is customizable, absolutely everything on it. We have now e-commerce element, which we have used with and without money. And this new version, this is the demo data that comes built into the platform. So in case you see weird names and products, that's what it uses. But it has increased its effects, which if I want to buy a chair, I'll add it to my cart, and now it flies into the cart. See? Ooh, fancy. Again, very basic. I mean, it's not basic, standard e-commerce. You have coupons, you have promos, you can run it as you would any e-commerce solution. The next bit we have is an events tab. So you can post all the events that you have or your organization has. But a whole lot. You can make them free or charge, so kind of like Eventbrite. Hopefully less infuriating than Eventbrite, but it's something that we have complete control over. And you can really, as you can see, go up and above, include anything you want. It will treat this like a website. So anything we can do on the web, we can do on the events page. Next one up we have is a forum. So anybody that remembers the forums back in the day, you can complain about everything and start huge chains about nothing. So it is very Reddit-y like. You can upvote, downvote. See the height of my tree. And then we have, again, blogs as well, which it's a blog. They're very pretty though, but still a blog. And now here's one of the, if you more in-depth features, which would be courses. This is an e-course, the e-learning module on Odoo. So it allows you to either give free courses or sell the courses. And it has gamification features already built in. So see, I am a doctor in Odoo apparently, and I have a unicorn. So go me. Me and my unicorn. And as you can see, you also have the option of previewing courses or selecting what course you want to preview to people who are not registered. I'm registered as an admin, so I'll have access to everything. And as we can see, it's a dummy PDF file, but home gardening, the mighty carrots, and then the opportunity to test yourself, what fruit is, what is a strawberry? It's a table. And a spoon is the best. So we're gonna check our answers. Apparently I fail at gardening. Cannot use table. Now if we go back to the course, again, you can go all this and it will remember all your experience points as well as allow you to review your courses to see how everything is doing. And that is, you have the basic contact us. If you want to add new pages, very straightforward. We do have the employment module built in for this for the demo, so you can put job offers if you want to. So you can also search for, in our scenario, we would be doing it. You can look for volunteers online and receive all the CVs and manage all that. And now, if we also have a chatbot, that is again fully customizable, and you can assign who in the organization gets to manage it, who doesn't, whatnot. Now, if we go under the hood, if you will, as you can see, these are all the modules that are installed for this Odoo, and I think that's most we've ever had. Where you default when you log in as a back-end user is a discuss section. And discuss is basically Slack. Has all the functionality that Slack does. And in 15, which this is 15, we can also have meetings. So full-on Zoom meetings with many, many users. And it's all your internal users on here. So let's end the meeting because I don't want to invite anybody. And yeah, apparently that's my default picture is that one. Again, shared calendar for everybody in the organization. These are all the contacts. So for example, you want to look at him. You have you can see if he's an individual, his website, any notes that you might have, or any activity will show up here, as well as you can see the bills, his website, meetings, etc. So it does give you a lot of functionality on who does what where. And now we also have a CRM component to it. So you can check all your opportunities. See, it's 20 days overdue, so it's all yelling at me. And all this also has built-in emails that will notify you how you're doing on a personal setting. Again, you have your full pipeline here to be able to offer a CRM. And then you can look at all our reports on our forecasts, the pipeline, how it's looking. We can change the way we want to look at it. Makes it look very fancy. Anytime things move, and we can report on activities. So no data on the activities on the last 12 months. A sales portal, which as you can see allows you to both sell online as well as sell direct. So this is meant for not just e-commerce, but also over the phone selling, etc. Now, this is a new feature, is point of sale. So we can now have a fully functioning point of sale for any business that runs in conjunction with your e-commerce site. So if you sold it online, you cannot sell it in person. If you sold it in person, you can no longer sell it online. So it'll take it out of the inventory. So it allows you to have many sales channels. So, you can have a charity shop with an e-commerce site. Every product that's on there that they can sell, it will track the inventory. It allows double sell. It keeps you from double selling. And then makes you has a basic point of sale, cash balances. Again, invoicing to go in the set for the scenario where you're not doing e-commerce, where again we're going on a one-to-one basis or on a B2B basis, where it also allows you to check your customer as well as your vendor invoices. So keep all your financials. Now, one that might be more familiar is projects, which if we look at it, it's basically either Trello or Jira. So it's the same functionality as Trello. So let's cancel this one. As you see, it still allows you to add much more information on here and tag it to different people. So the interface is slightly different, but it is basically Trello. But it's your own company's Trello. So we've seen the website, the e-learning. Here's where we manage the e-learning, the build out of the courses and all the maintenance, all the components and all the specifications. Now, we also have email marketing, where you can do bulk emails as well from Odoo. So again, one more feature. We haven't used this quite yet, but it still allows any organization to send bulk emails out, as well as have mailing lists, and you can give you full reports as well, as in how many newsletters have been opened. Now, events. This is where you manage the events on the website as well. So this is the back end. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but apparently somebody is using a leaf blower outside my window. So that's fun.
Sounds like a Hoover.
If only, and the guy's actually quite far away. But and here here's basically all the management for all the components we saw on the website. Now, the other exciting one is surveys, where this allows you to do certification. So it has the components from the e-learning that provides a certification is a survey in Odoo. And you can also have standalone surveys, which are proper surveys like you would get in any other organization. But this is where you're managing them from the back. Now, purchasing. Now we have inventory. Again, where this would not only does it allow us to track inventory in one warehouse, it's effectively we can have infinite warehouses for infinite companies. So it allows us to track everything else from point A to point B to point C. And this is one of the components we're working on with Hope for Ukraine charity to be able to help them track all the donations going from Edinburgh into Ukraine via different warehouses. Because you have your goods that need to be consolidated, put into the lorries, etc. So all this you can track through it. At the moment, we only have, two warehouses, which is the normal warehouse and three warehouses. Normal, point of sale, and manufacturing. Manufacturing is effectively, it allows you to make things from, in the world of Odoo, if say you're manufacturing a 6-pack of Coca-Cola, so you get 6 cans in one box and you combine them together and that becomes a 6-pack. So it takes 6 cans out of inventory, 1 box out of inventory, and puts 1 case back into the inventory. And it carries all the associated costings for it. Then we also have a maintenance module, which allows you to track any things that need to be fixed. So if a charity has equipment they need to repair, it's a good way to be able to track in what stage is it, what's happening, who's responsible for it. And the repair orders feed into the maintenance module. So you create a new order in order to be able to do that. And here's where we're going into all our employees that we have. See, we have a very, very big company. You can sort them by department. And then if you click on them, you can see their experience, their education, all their skills training, work, private, HR settings. If I go to print, I can print their badge. Give me a second. And there, now we've created a badge for our consultant. As well as there's also a contract bot that allows you to build a contract for all your employees. So again, it's not the most exciting features, but they're very functional features and actually quite a labor-saving features in the long term. And if you need a time clock, it has a time clock. So see, it's a little bit of everything in here. Again, it's everything you would need to run a business, right from top to bottom. Again, we go with recruitment. See, we're looking for an experienced developer. We have 4 applications. And again, we can play like Trello. Sorry, now the printer's going, so apologies for that. Should be quick. Now we're saying the live chat, or anybody in the website. These are the only 2 people in the company right now that would have access to the live chat to be able to reply. Dashboard is something we could build our own dashboards in here with all the components of the company that would be important to us. And this is a per user feature. And all the remaining apps that we haven't installed quite yet that are available for it. So yeah, that is Odoo in a nutshell. Now I see questions flying by, so anybody with questions, comments? Hello? And everybody's frozen now. Okay. Jazz hands.
Does anyone have any questions?
I stuck mine in the chat because I was still munching and I keep coughing, so but I can repeat them if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So yeah, I was just wondering, I was trying to think if this was used by an STA client, like some of the chats we've had about the other stuff we've been doing. Is it the expectation that they would use an STA hosted version, or is it more that we would just, you know, help them understand the tool and recommend it and they would need to host their own version?
No. At the moment, we're hosting everything because it's got it has a very specific set of requirements. And at the moment, it is something that I think would be quite a lot of work and requires a lot of specialized help for the charity to host themselves.
Okay, so we're offering it as a full, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, it's full solution. But again, it's not something that, for example, we would be using if you're just looking for a website. This is not the best solution for that, just due to the operational requirements of the system, because it is, as you can see, it's a very in-depth ERP. It's a full solution. So
that was my second question. How did you land up at Odoo? Is there anything else that does everything that's an actual Odoo comparison, or is it just a case of if you need 1 or 2 of the things, go with whatever, or if you need everything only, that's when you would choose Odoo?
Odoo, I mean, for a single like for a website, again, it is too much. But if you want to do anything, for example, like inventory management, Odoo becomes a very competitive feature, especially the more users you're using. Whereas many of the, let's say, non-traditional, like an e-learning platform, Odoo is a much it's a more price competitive solution than it would be. Kind of like the website's almost like an extra bonus, but the main core, what we landed on Odoo mainly because we had some demands for inventory management. Back at the beginning of the pandemic, we had some charities were looking for assistance in being able to manage PPE when we had the PPE shortage. And that's where we landed with Odoo. And so we've been still, ever since then, we've been developing the platform, see all the features it offers and how we could best offer a solution and how could we better help.
Rose, there will be other platforms that try and reach as enterprise wide as this. The big selling point for Odoo was the fact that it's open source, basically. So, you know, in terms of that vendor risk for a charity, you're not tying them into an agreement where you then suddenly bump up the prices massively and there's no way for them to kind of step in, step away. So that sort of restrictive clauses that you know, with your own code you can offer when you're not signing them up for that kind of bits and pieces. You know, I think when you, depending on the charities, when they're coming in just looking for something, that's when there will be other solutions in the market that will match the function, you know, because, you know, a specialist versus a broad brush, you'll always get that trade-off, basically. It'd be interesting. One of the things we probably will start trying to do is identify that sweet spot of charity this works for, if you know what I mean, because for a small one, you know, we're looking at putting together effectively a WordPress conveyor belt, basically, because they're easy for them to maintain if they're pretty much just putting blogs, newsletters, and who's who on the pages. You know, you don't need something that also has an ERP system in the background.
I mean, I think Odoo is not the right solution for any company or charity that has one IT person. You need to have multiple operators. It's simply, it is too much of a behemoth, and it is, I mean, the way it's very streamlined, but there's still quite a bit of, I mean, if you're managing inventory, you still need to transfer the inventory. You need to make sure your inventory is up to date. You need to be able to, you know, make sure it's in the right warehouse, that everything's been tracked properly. So this is, as Joanna was saying, if somebody just needs a website with a blog, this is not the solution for them. But if somebody needs, you know, a website with e-learning that you can sell, then yeah, this would be a much more attractive solution.
Yeah, that's where it feels like it's that e-learning inventory, like you say, as soon as you combine those things, that feels like that tipping point, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's, even if you're looking at it as a standalone inventory solution, that is still one of the better options we have with everything involved. As now e-learning, a standalone e-learning as well, it's also one of the better solutions. And if you're just doing blogs, then it's not one of the better solutions.
Does it handle everything for the email? I mean, do you have to go and add on your extra bulk email system to it, or does it do it all itself?
It does it all. It does it all from your own address. So
if you want to send out a lot, you've got to get the right system to do that.
Yeah. Oh, the system will send it on your behalf. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm going through the questions.
Oh, sorry. I guess what's the biggest challenge you found with Odoo?
The fact that it's funny. It's got a very steep learning curve, which is very hard if you're starting from base zero. However, with all the work we've done and all the documentation we've generated, it's become a much faster, it's been a smoother version to be able to train people. I mean, we have had some charities we've been working with Odoo, and we've given them user guides, usually half the time written by Emer, that they can just basically pick up and go, and they have minimal issues. It would be about the same as if they're doing something on WordPress or even Squarespace. For their side, it was more of a challenge for us to get all the information we needed to be able to produce all the user guides, to be able to train everybody else. I mean, we still have, because we are on open source and it is a community edition, our resources are community resources opposed to Odoo. Not Odoo doesn't like to support community because they're trying to upsell to enterprise. In enterprise, we're talking serious money once you. I think I looked at once on Odoo Enterprise, one website with one user. They charge per user per module. So for a website with an e-learning and an event, you're looking at over 100 euros per user per month. And you're not going to have one user in there. So it goes up very fast. But that's why it is a full. I mean, some of the clients they have is Shell and Toyota. So it is a very robust solution. But the other issue we have as well is because it's such a robust platform and it's already on the 15th version of it, it has a lot of legacy code and a lot of legacy ways of doing things. So it is not as efficient operating as a modern, like if somebody were to build it from scratch, a SaaS solution from scratch for Odoo, it would be a lot more lightweight than what it is now. Right now we're retrofitting, we're trying to adapt old technology with new technology to make it work on the cloud.
I guess because at the minute there's one live solution on the tampon taxi.
Yeah.
How many support calls do we get about?
None. Once they got up and going, once we went through all the teething, they've picked up with it and haven't had any issues. I mean, we had, sorry, I apologize. There was one where it was a maintenance bot on AWS and it went down for 10 minutes, so we had to fix that. But other than that, on a day-to-day usage, they went from going from an Excel. They went from managing their charity with an Excel spreadsheet to using Odoo. So they're using the e-commerce module and the inventory module. And we purchased a subscription module for them, which allows them, it allows the end user to create a subscription for the product. So Tampon Taxi is an organization that provides period relief products. And they operate on a mainly anonymous basis. So people will either email, they used to text them and call, and now they can email and go online, register, order what they want. They can select replenishment date, either monthly or bi-monthly. And the organization will then take that and deliver on certain days. But they've gone basically from Excel and phone calls to this inventory integrated solution, and we haven't had any issues with that. They're still, big advocates of Odoo. They really like it, and it's made their day-to-day much smoother.
Can I ask if you've been through an upgrade with them or with anyone else? Because that's a big risk area that I hear from all the people I'm talking to as I try to help a charity choose a CRM system.
Well, the way Odoo works at the moment is it is constantly doing small upgrades and small fixes. And it does it the way we have it, it's doing that automatically. Every time the tiny fixes are updated, whenever the instance gets reloaded, it pulls up the most up-to-date feature. Now, when we're going between version 14 and 15, there's a service we need to use from Odoo that will help us migrate the data from one version to the next, but that's an annual basis, and it is not a necessary thing. For example, Tampon Taxi is running on 14. 15 was just released this year, but there's nothing in that transition that there's no need for them to go to 15 because 14 does everything just right for what they need. Is that addressing your question?
Maybe.
Well, we haven't, basically. So we haven't, but I guess best practice would always drive you to upgrade, especially if there's no impact.
How long is 14 going to be supported would be the next question.
The thing is, since it's a community edition, it's us that support it. It's all the end users. Odoo puts out the community once they've gone to, I think I still see quite a lot of version 8s running around. So it seems to have quite a long shelf life.
Okay. The 2 points that I'd put in are both really back to Joanna's point about what's the sweet point for who should use this. And I'm throwing out the challenge. Has STA considered migrating because you do event management and you could do Jira, you could use the project management board for Jira, and you could use the website. Would you? And if not, why not?
We started to look at the website. There was a demo website put together. The work was halted because something didn't work, and I don't know what that is, basically. So interestingly, Michael and I were talking about that yesterday, basically. To be honest, we're a small team, so we need to fix what's broken rather than just shift stuff around. A lot of the tools do work completely the same. There will be a point where the cost will probably drive us to moving some of the stuff over. For volunteers, I do think there's more value added learning Jira than there is learning Odoo, just because of the market usage. So at the minute, that's not broken. The stuff we can automate that we do need to automate, if you see what I mean. And there's a hell of a lot of stuff we need to build out, basically. So, even with Tampon Taxi, we don't have all the product marketing material to give the Ukraine team, for example, which could in the end be pretty much setting up the same way, but for donations going from warehouses, if you see what I mean. So there's a whole bit we need to do so that we can offer that commercially before we start saying, do we keep playing with our tech stack? Because you could endlessly move your tech around.
It was more from if we're going to promote this and sell it, will people go, oh, do you use it? And if the answer is no, you need to have a nice, well-crafted, why not?
I mean, it's Odoo works best when it's taking care of everything within itself, when everything lives in Odoo. Now, as Joanna said, is again for all our volunteers, working on Jira is infinitely more valuable than learning to work on Odoo. So even if we just had that out, then now we're already talking about a few systems again, and this is where it's an all or nothing kind of situation to get the maximum efficiency out of it.
That actually feels like a strong enough argument right there to just say, to me, if you were trying to convince me why you weren't using Odoo, actually it's the Jira and it's the benefit for our junior end volunteers learning software that's widely used in the community, in the market. That's the reason that stopped us, because we can't move everything, and that feels like a good enough answer.
I think the honest thing is nobody knew enough about Odoo to say that it wasn't even a contender. I think when everybody said, how do we set up our events? Nobody said Odoo can do that. Michael's absolutely been the pioneer, running around, coming back, going, oh wow, it does this as well, and I've just played with it and it works really nicely. So there's been a huge, it's like having the App Store basically, and it's very difficult to say, yep, that definitely does event management until you have a look at it properly, because there's a hell of a lot of stuff that kind of says it does but doesn't really do it, or does part of it but not all of it. So yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see where we are in a year's time with all of that. Any other questions from anybody? No? Brilliant. I mean, I guess question to you guys, do you feel like you get enough visibility in the community of Odoo and almost what that product roadmap could be?
I didn't know the word Odoo until the event came up, so I maybe should in my job, which was one of my reasons for, it's really useful to just find out about all the different tools for things that you may not be aware of and what their applications are. So yeah, definitely interested in more of this, whether it's Odoo or any other tools that we've, STA's used that are out there that.
Yeah.
Angus?
Can I ask, what's going forward, what's the relationship between the Odoo stuff and the Elios stuff? Or why are you laughing?
Because of technology's wonderful way of finding multiple terms for the same thing. And I don't think I've worked anywhere where you don't at some point end up qualifying the name of the software vendor, the name of the system in the market versus the name that they call it in a company, because they want to brand it within their own company brand, basically. And I laugh because I think we've done the same thing.
So the Ilios, the Dunbar thing, was Odoo.
Dunbar is Soul, which is not Odoo.
Sorry, Soul. So Soul is different from Ilios, which is the same as Odoo.
Yeah. See?
Because I said this, but I thought when I got involved in the Dunbar thing, I was asked to set up the store thing. I thought I was using Odoo to set up the store thing and not the Soul platform. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I was young.
Do you know what? I'm not that familiar with the tech involved in the Soul project, just its evolution and journey through the stages. But definitely, hopefully, we'll do a session on that here. But very much.
Well, it's just that's kind of doing certainly Dunbar thing. That was doing the same thing. You had the setting up stores for the Dunbar, for the various high street stores, who could then do, and like the Dunbar Music Festival was an event, and they wanted to sell tickets. They wanted to be able to sell tickets online for that. So that's why I'm confused, because it just seems to be the Soul thing. Just seems to be the functionality seems to be the same, and I'm confused by the duplication.
So I would describe Soul more as a community platform. So you're deliberately pulling together separate businesses. Whereas Odoo, when we're pointing at a single company in most implementations, basically, which is where that
for one particular operation. Right.
Actually, Joanna just brought something up that I completely glanced over, which is
it also
one of the main things we're doing with Odoo at the moment is we're doing websites for community councils. Now, where the Odoo superpower comes in, and I know I said about it's not good for websites, and that's true, it's not good for a website, but we're looking upwards of 85 websites. Then it's good because we can centrally manage 85 different websites on one platform. So we can now go and have 85 different individual URLs hit one database that we can centrally manage, centrally update, and perform any sort of maintenance or upgrades we want.
Is that if there are 85 carbon copies with different branding and copy, or
well, it doesn't need to be a carbon
85
copy.
quite different websites?
I mean, for our purpose, there are almost carbon copies because the councils want that to be uniform. But the way Odoo would treat it is effectively you have one parent company with children companies, and you can have ad infinitum as well on the child companies, because you can have everybody has only you can dictate who gets what rights and who can see what. So all the members from the community councils can only see their own website, and that we can have as well. We can see all of them, be able to edit anything, fix anything that needs to be done, as well as distribute documents centrally to everybody. So instead of having everybody, they'll all have one form from the council. Instead of having 85 people upload it, we just upload it once and everybody has access to it. So it does provide certain flexibility and certain
superpowers.
Advantages. Yeah, the superpowers there. Because then if you can add modules, and instead of having to update, if in the future there's an extra module you want to put in, instead of having to do it 85 times, you only do it once.
Yeah.
So that is where it does start having extra features that you usually wouldn't find in many other platforms.
Angus, to kind of circle back a little bit on your point as well, what's interesting with a lot of the charities when they come to us is they have decided they need an LMS system, or they have decided they're ready for a CRM system, if you see what I mean. They're not at a, we've done an architectural review and we've redesigned our tech stack, and now we need something that meets multiple requirements across the piece, if you see what I mean. I think we've had like two requests like that, and in fact Alistair's just picked up one of those. So, you know, most of the smaller charities are, we've got a Facebook page, we don't have a website, or we've got a website now and we know we need to get the digital marketing better. Do you know what I mean? So the nature of the smaller charities we're working with tend to be those spaces. The learning management system help really emerged from that realization of, oh, if we do some stuff online, we can reach more people, which is, you know, a direct consequence, I think, of the pandemic, if you see what I mean, and having to be more digital. But cool. Any more questions?
Well, just ask, how much are we paying for Odoo then, or what's our sort of pricing structure? What are we given that the voluntary setup and all that sort of thing, and I mean, the Odoo pricing model isn't a per user, per module thing.
I mean, the community edition of Odoo is free. Our cost comes from hosting it on AWS.
Right.
And that's, you know, because of its the size and the resources required, that's where the costs come from, which makes it not really competitive for one website, but it makes it very practical for 100.
For larger.
Yeah. So we do anything then for using.
At the minute, we're not charging for any of the live platforms. So Tampon Taxi are not being charged at all for us hosting the solution for them, or the build, basically. What we're starting to do, because we have to, is look at things like the community council, where the charge covers the cost of hosting effectively. So it's trying to just end up net neutral, rather than kind of, because we can't keep building and deploying stuff and adding costs, basically, without funding. So with Michael and I have just started doing a little bit of price testing, making sure it's competitive, making sure it makes sense, basically. So for example, we're looking at a kind of framework around building the websites. The idea would be the cost is pretty similar to a hosting cost, and what we're hoping to offer is a managed hosting environment, basically, where they get the upgrades, they get, you know, effectively a WordPress site built on a template, so it's much easier for us to help people deploy that, if you see what I mean. And the hosting cost is pretty competitive, but actually does reflect our costs, and the more we get on the platform, year 2, hopefully we could reduce the cost, if you see what I mean. So by the nature of it being shared across multiple charities, the goal is that we can make it cheaper. Cool. Any more questions? Brilliant. Right. Thank you so much, Michael. It was brilliant, and I do love it. Every time you open up the menu, there's more toys in the candy stores. It's kind of like, have a look at this too, but really useful to get that kind of run through. If you guys have any more questions, want to get involved in any of the Odoo work, you know, please let us know. You know, there's a number of things, and we're really keen to get this working for charities. I think there's a really neat solution there that could be quite simple for them to pick up where appropriate. Brilliant. Cool. Lovely to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.